right, here we go.
Hey everybody, my name is Jaden. I'm currently building out this 40-foot school bus into my full-time off-grid home, and I'm documenting the whole thing here on YouTube. So if you like that kind of thing, make sure to subscribe and you can see all the progress from start to finish of making this into my custom tiny home on wheels. This video is going to be slightly different than my previous videos in that it's going to include multiple different small projects that I've been doing throughout the last couple weeks. The reason for this is I got to filming all these different little projects that I was doing and trying to figure out how to make them each their own video, and I really thought these kind of things don't warrant their own specific video in my mind, mainly because they're not entirely finished. Things like installing outlet boxes or roughing in the installation of my propane water heater. These things, while they have been done for the meantime, there's still more to do with them, so I don't think it would be appropriate to do a separate video just for those things by themselves. So instead, I'm gonna do a little bit of a compilation of all these different little things that I did in the last couple weeks, explain why I did them, why I chose the product that I did, and then move on to kind of my plans coming up for the next couple weeks and some more sizable projects that I'll be doing here really soon. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the first little project that I did, and that was building wheel well boxes over both my wheel wells. I have one wheel well box there and one wheel well box in my bathroom. This wheel well box is slightly wider than that one because it is acting as a hallway from my bedroom out to the rest of the bus. And since it is a hallway, it's going to be walked on pretty much every day, multiple times by me, my dog, and whoever else is in the bus. So it needed to be strong and sturdy. This box in the bathroom could be a little less wide. It's essentially the exact size of the wheel well itself. And since I don't have to be walking across it, it could be a little bit less wide, but it still needed to be structural because it's holding, as you can see, my toilet, and it will be holding a washer dryer combo. So going to be quite a bit of weight and quite a bit of vibration going on this box, so it needed to be rock solid. The construction process was pretty simple. It was similar to how I framed out the bathroom in that I put down some 2x4 base plates around the perimeter of the wheel well, and then I built up some corner supports in all of the 4 corners, put some top plates over all of the corner and side supports, and then anchored them all down. Once those were all anchored down, I was able to test fit my sheet of Advantech subfloor as the top plate. I used Advantech subfloor rather than a 3/4 inch birch plywood like I faced the rest of the box with, because 1, I had a lot of it left over, and 2, if I'm going to be walking on it, doesn't it make sense that it's the same as the rest of the subfloor that I have going on? So that's what I chose to do for both boxes. And as I just mentioned, I did face all the sides of the box with 3/4 inch birch plywood for aesthetic purposes and to hold in everything that's inside the box. Speaking of what's inside the box, insulation. Now, insulation is one of those things with a box that you definitely should do regardless of how you build the box. The wheel well is like a tiny little thin metal membrane between the outside world and your living quarters. And if you don't insulate that, that's a huge, like 2.5 by 2 foot section of uninsulated space. And that's definitely going to make it a lot harder for your temperature regulation system to do its job. And for me, especially when I'm going to be trying to be as off-grid as possible, if I'm running my AC unit in the summertime or my heater in the wintertime, and I have these huge open spaces that just aren't insulated at all, my AC unit or my heater is going to be working extra hard to make up for that lack of insulation. But overall, I really do like how these turned out. They're very solid, very quiet. There's no squeaking or anything. Time will tell as the bus, rolls down the highway a few times if things shift and kind of get loose or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. Now for the insulation that I actually used rock wool, and I have a bit of it right here because this is also what I'm going to be using for my walls and my ceiling. This is a topic for a different video. As far as insulations go, I think this is probably going to be one of your best bets overall when you're talking about the benefits and cons of all the different types of insulation. But yeah, like I said, it's a topic for a different video. In a future video, I'll explain why I chose to do this rather than spray foam, which you see a lot on these kind of conversions. and I put a lot of thought into it, and this is what I landed on. So in a future video, I'll go over why I chose that. And that's about it for the wheel well boxes. Like I said, not a whole lot to go over, pretty simple, but let's go ahead and jump into the next little project that I did, and that's roughing in all of my outlet boxes around the bus. So if y'all watched one of my recent videos where I went over how I chose to frame the inside of my bus, you'll know that all of my framing is horizontal, which makes it kind of challenging to mount an outlet box, because typically an outlet box is meant to attach to a vertical framing piece. So I had to figure out a way to make some vertical blocking for my outlet boxes to attach to. And you might be thinking, well, obviously it's super simple. Just get a 2x4, cut it, put it in between the two framing pieces, and then nail it down or screw it down and you're good. But the issue then became, okay, well, I used plywood for my framing. Obviously I can't just screw straight down through this plywood because I would completely split it. So that was a no-go. Same with nailing too. It would just completely split the plies apart. And then, you know, I could screw in down at an angle, but there's so little room to work with here that, you know, I would either end up just completely chipping a piece off of this or completely just going way too vertical and ultimately end up splitting the plywood as well. But I did figure out a solution that I actually am really happy with. So here is one of my outlet boxes that I have roughed in my kitchen. You'll notice that I do have a 2x4 that is spanning this gap, acting as a vertical support. And I was able to do that because you'll notice I actually cut a notch out of the 2x4 to real nice and neatly sit here and then down here and allow for the wires to run through. And then I was able to shoot some construction screws through the face of the plywood and then into the 2x4 to anchor it in place. And it's really solid. And then for the outlet boxes, I just used these cheap little single gang 98-cent nail-in boxes, which I think will work just fine. You know, the thought of, you know, I'm driving down the road and then vibrations happening and then these nails slipping out has crossed my mind, but I don't really think that's going to be an issue. If it is, then that's a problem for another day. But you know, these things were like 98 cents at Home Depot, so I just went with those. And let's give a little count for all the outlets that I have. I probably have way too many. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make our way back here. 8, 9, and then I have this, which is a 3-gang box, so it's going to be 3 receptacles there. So what was that, 11, 12, 13, or 10, 11, 12? 12 or 13, whatever that ended up. Probably way too many, but for me, I want to be able to be absolutely anywhere in the bus and not have to run a cable across it. So like if I'm laying down on the couch, right, and I'm just like taking a snoozer and I wake up and my phone's dead and I want to plug it in, I don't want to have to get up and plug in a cord to the kitchen outlet and then run it across the bus to the couch. Even though it's totally doable, it's like an 8-foot gap. I don't know, quality of life, man. So that's another little project I've done over the last couple of weeks, is install, or I guess rough in, all of my outlet boxes. Another little project that I did was add more puck lights. And I got these little, you can see, they're just 4-watt 12-volt lights, and they're just like little screw ends. So you just shoot screws through these 3 holes into whatever your finished ceiling is, and you're good to go. Pretty simple. But yeah, so I added a bunch more lights. Originally my plan was gonna be to have like 10 total of these little guys, and that's just not enough light to illuminate it like I want things to be illuminated. So the way I'm going to be doing it, I'm essentially going to have a light on each side of the bus for each little gap between the ribs of the bus. So I have all these lights dangling down here. So I'm going to have, let's see, what was this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the bedroom area. I'm going to have 4 for the bathroom. I'm going to have 2 to 4 of these guys for the hallway here. I'm going to have 6 for the kitchen, and then I'm going to have 4 for the living room. So I don't know, future me will put in what that math adds up to for total lights, but I'm guessing it's at least double what I originally intended. And that was just because I realized that 12-volt lights just aren't all that bright. So that's what I did. I just added on some additional extension wires and, you know, added some lights with some lever nuts and called it good. Pretty straightforward. And last but not least, another little project that I had going on was roughing in, I wouldn't even say roughing in, installing my tankless hot water heater just without running any of the plumbing because I don't have that yet. So the hot water heater, I'll show you from the outside. It comes in from the outside, of course, and then it has a door on the outside that allows for access to the inside of the system, an outdoor shower hookup, and things like that. This is from a brand called Vevor. I don't know how you say it. I saw good reviews on it online, but then I got to looking more about this company, and they make like everything, which has me a little skeptical now that I understand, like, oh, they're not just an RV company. They don't just make things for RVs. They make legitimately everything you could think of. Like I saw an ad for a Vevor like floaty, like a beach floaty, and then a Vevor pocket hole jig, and now a Vevor hot water heater. Like, quite the range, right? So not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just that, you know, it kind of has me a little skeptical, right? But, you know, we'll see how this works. It seems like it's built to be pretty high quality. You can see it got scratched up as I was installing it, but yeah, it has a pretty simple, straightforward little system back here. Water outlet, a water inlet, a gas inlet for the propane, and then there's wiring for the ignition wires. And then this little thing right here goes to this wired remote control that allows you to turn it on and off, adjust the temperature, and things like that. Okay, so here's the outside of it. As you can see, it does have a door to access the inside. You just lift up that latch, spin it, and you can open it up. It's got a little hot air vent there. It's got a little outdoor shower hookup here. You can hook up a little outdoor hose to hose off like the dog or whatever, and then nice and neatly closes back up there. This is actually quite the challenge to figure out how to do. As you guys saw, it was installed in between, like in the middle of that like ribbed section on the bus that has all those different, I guess, ridges on it. And that was a challenge to figure out how I was gonna cut it to where the hot water heater itself was nice and snug, and the door was able to sit flush with the actual wall of the bus. And I ended up cutting the hole for the water heater quite a bit bigger than was necessary. And I used a piece of galvanized steel sheeting that I used for my exterior walls to rivet in and act as a flat section of the wall so that the door out there would sit nice and flush. And I did that on both sides. I don't really know the differences between the tanked and the tankless ones. That thing was like 250 bucks, maybe not even that. So it was cost effective, and I didn't have to worry about, I don't know, having a tank of water, another tank of water inside, but that's just what I chose to do. And that's about the gist of what I've been up to for the last couple of weeks here, just slowly gearing up for the big stuff, right? So the big stuff on the horizon. The biggest thing is building my electrical system. Now, here are all my components that I'm gonna be installing. I still need to get the fuses and wiring for all the different components to hook up. I also need to get an AC distribution panel and a DC distribution panel that I have already ordered. So that's coming in the mail, which I'm super stoked about. That's gonna be a really exciting video. So make sure if you don't end up subscribing or turning on your notifications, come back in a few weeks so you can see that video, because it's gonna be a really cool one. Cannot wait to be able to power on everything that's gonna be in the bus with my solar on the roof. It's gonna be so sick. Another thing that I'm gearing up to do right now is insulating my walls and my ceiling. And like I said, I'm gonna be using the rock wool that's back there behind me for all of my walls and my ceiling. And that's gonna be its own video too, because I feel like that one does justify its own video. And there's a lot to discuss in terms of why I came to the conclusion of using rock wool over things like fiberglass or spray foam. I'm thinking I wanna do this kind of video every week, just so that you guys can stay informed as to what I've been doing, even if I don't have a grand big video going over a huge project like my electrical system build is going to be, or framing out my bathroom, or installing my subfloor. I still want to keep you guys up to date just with these little weekly video updates. So let me know if you like that kind of thing. More importantly, let me know if you want me to go into more detail about anything I covered. I'm more than happy to, if I see a comment asking to go over, let's say, my water heater in more detail, for example. Just let me know in the comments and I'm more than happy to make a more detailed video for you guys. So that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.